encourage me, laughing and saying I had him wrapped around my finger. The others joined in, joking that Jack was too soft, that he needed to man up and put me in my place. I laughed along, playing into it, feeling a sense of superiority. At the time, I didn't realize that every word I spoke was eroding the foundation of my marriage. This behavior didn't stop at that one night. Over the next few months, it became a pattern. Whenever I was out with friends, I complained about Jack, how he was too nice, too accommodating, too boring. I'd roll my eyes when he texted to check if I was safe, mocking his concern as being clingy. My friends fueled my behavior, telling me I deserved someone who could match my energy, who wouldn't just cater to my every whim. And I believed them. Jack, however, never stopped being the man he always was. He continued to put me first, never questioning why I was coming home late, or why I seemed more distant. He still left sweet notes for me, still made sure my favorite snacks were stocked in the kitchen, still did everything to make my life easier. But instead of appreciating it, I resented it. His kindness felt suffocating, like a reminder that I had all the power in our relationship, and I hated that he never pushed back. Then came the night of the neighborhood party, the night everything changed. It was one of our community's regular get-togethers, hosted at a neighbor's house, and as usual, Jack came along even though social gatherings weren't his thing. He stayed on the sidelines while I mingled, laughing with my friends and enjoying the attention. At some point in the night, the conversation turned to relationships, and without thinking, I made a joke at Jack's expense. I don't even remember exactly what I said, but it was something about how he was trained to do whatever I wanted, how he was the perfect little house husband. My friends laughed, adding their own comments, turning it into a full-blown roast of my husband. Jack, who had been quiet the entire night, just sat there, sipping his drink, his face unreadable. Someone nudged him, teasingly asking how he felt about being whipped. He just smiled faintly and said nothing. But then, out of nowhere, he stood up. The room fell silent as Jack placed his drink down and looked directly at me. His voice was calm, too calm. "I think I've had enough," he said. "Lisa, I hope you enjoy your life, because I'm done." At first, I thought he was joking. Jack never stood up for himself, never confronted me, never made a scene. But the way he looked at me, like he was seeing me for the first time, like he didn't even recognize me, sent a chill through me. I laughed nervously, trying to brush it off, but he wasn't playing along. "What are you talking about?" I asked, suddenly feeling like I had lost control of the situation. "I'm talking about us," he said. "I've spent years loving you, supporting you, putting you first, and you spent years mocking me, pushing me away, treating me like a joke. I kept thinking that if I just loved you harder, if I tried more, things would get better. But they never did, and they never will." The party was dead silent now. My friends, the same ones who spent months encouraging my behavior, were suddenly avoiding my gaze. No one laughed. No one said a word. Jack let out a breath, like he had been holding it in for years. "I deserve better than this," he said simply. "I deserve to be with someone who respects me, who actually wants me. And that's not you." And with that, he walked out. I didn't follow him. I was too stunned, too embarrassed. The weight of what had just happened didn't fully hit me until much later, until I got home and found his closet half empty, his essentials gone. He was serious. Jack was gone. And now, I don't know what to do. The moment Jack walked out of that party, something inside me shattered. I had spent years convincing myself that he would never leave, that no matter how much I pushed him away, he would always come back. But this time was different. The way he looked at me, the finality in his voice, it was like he had flipped a switch, like every ounce of love he had for me had been drained away. As he disappeared into the night, the weight of what had just happened hit me like a freight train. The party, once filled with laughter and music, felt suffocatingly silent. I could feel the stares of everyone around me, some filled with pity, others with quiet judgment. My so-called friends, the same ones who had encouraged my behavior for years, were suddenly avoiding my gaze. Even Tina, who had always been the ringleader of our cruel little jokes, looked uncomfortable. I wanted to run after him, to take it all back, but my legs felt frozen. And in that moment, for the first time in years, I felt something I hadn't allowed myself to feel before: fear. When I finally made it home, I saw the living room lights were on. My heart pounded as I stepped inside, already knowing what I would find. Jack was there, moving methodically, gathering my things with an eerie calmness that scared me more than if he had been yelling. His suitcase sat by the door, his hands moving with quiet determination as he packed away every trace of me. "Jack, please," I whispered, my voice barely audible over the sound of my own heartbeat. He didn't even look at me. "Your things are outside," he said simply. I felt my stomach drop. "You don't mean that," I said, my voice cracking. "Jack, we can talk about this." He finally stopped what he was doing and turned to face me. His eyes, one so full of love and warmth, were hollow. "No, Lisa, we can't." His words sliced through me like a knife. This wasn't the Jack I knew. The Jack I knew would have never walked away. The Jack I knew would have fought for us, no matter how cruel I had been. But the Jack standing in front of me wasn't that man anymore. He was someone I didn't recognize, someone who had finally realized his worth. Desperation clawed at my throat. "Jack, I love you," I blurted out, tears spilling down my cheeks. He let out a quiet, bitter laugh. "No, you don't, Lisa. You loved the way I loved you. You loved the security, the attention, the devotion. But you never loved me, not really." I shook my head frantically. "That's not true, isn't it?" His voice was steady, but there was something in his eyes, pain, exhaustion, a deep, heartbreaking sadness. "Lisa, I spent years trying to be enough for you. I bent over backward to make you happy, to prove that I was worth your love. And you," he swallowed hard, his jaw tightening, "you turned me into a joke." I reached for him, but he took a step back out of my grasp. "I'm done," he said, his voice almost a whisper. "For the first time in years, I'm choosing myself. And you don't get to take that away from me." I felt the world crumbling around me. I begged, I pleaded, I sobbed, but nothing I said mattered anymore. The man who had once loved me unconditionally had finally learned to love himself more. In the end, he left without another word. I was the one standing there, alone, surrounded by the wreckage of life I had destroyed with my own hands. And now, as I sit in my childhood bedroom, staring at my phone, hoping for a message that will never come, I finally understand. I wasn't abandoned. I wasn't betrayed. I lost Jack the moment I stopped valuing him. And now, I will spend the rest of my life living with the consequences of that mistake. I don't know what to do anymore. This place is far more toxic than I ever imagined, and honestly, I should have seen it coming. I know I made mistakes. I don't need to be reminded of them constantly. When I came here, I was looking for advice, not relentless criticism and insults. The overwhelming negativity makes me regret even posting in the first place. I needed guidance, not judgment, to clear up some of the repetitive questions. No, I don't have a job right now. I literally mentioned that in my first post, so I don't understand why people keep asking. No, my relationship isn't over. At least, I hope it's not. I'm still trying to work things out with Jack. And no, this isn't some made-up story for attention. I have better things to do than fabricate a fake post just to get torn apart by strangers online. I know I need to find a job and start rebuilding my life, but right now, my thoughts are consumed by Jack. I miss him so much, and it hurts knowing that my own actions pushed him away. If I could turn back time, I would, but I can't. To those of you who have given me genuine advice, I truly appreciate it. Your words have been a lifeline in this dark time. But to the people who are just here to criticize, please understand that I am already dealing with the consequences of my actions. I don't need additional negativity piled on top. I'm trying to take things one day at a time, focusing on making amends and showing Jack that I can change. It won't be easy, but I'm willing to do whatever it takes. If anyone has real advice on how to navigate the situation, I'm open to hearing it. At this point, I don't even know why I bother posting here anymore. Reddit has proven to be a toxic place, but since I have nowhere else to vent, here I am. First, I just want to acknowledge how grateful I am for my parents. Without them, I'd probably be homeless right now. They've been my rock through all of this, and I truly don't know what I'd do without their support. Second, I've come to realize that my so-called friends, including Tina, were never really my friends at all. Not a single one of them has reached out since everything happened. No calls, no texts, nothing. It's clear now that they were fake, and I blocked them all. I gave them so much of my time and loyalty, but when I needed them most, they vanished. It hurts, but at least I now know where I stand. As for Jack, we finally talked, and he said on the divorce. It breaks my heart, but I know he'll regret it eventually. When he does, I won't take him back. He wants to be done with me? Fine, I'll give him what he wants. So that's where I am, still trying to figure out my next steps. It's difficult to think about the future when everything feels so uncertain. I've been applying for jobs, but nothing has worked out yet. It's discouraging, but I'm trying to stay hopeful. I still can't wrap my head around how quickly my life crumbled. One moment, I was surrounded by friends and stability, and the next, I was completely alone with my life in ruins. Despite everything, I'm determined to move forward. I know I've made mistakes, and I'm willing to do the work to become a better person. But it's hard not to feel bitter. I gave so much to my friends, to my husband, and now I have nothing. To those who have been supportive, thank you. Your kindness means more than you realize. To those who have been cruel, I genuinely hope you never find yourself in a situation like mine. It's easy to judge from the outside, but much harder when your own life is falling apart. For now, I'm taking things one day at a time. I'm focused on finding a job, saving money, and eventually getting my own place. It's going to be a long, difficult road, but I'm determined to get there. I don't need pity, and I don't need judgment. I just need the strength to keep moving forward. Hey, Reddit. It's me again. I know I said my last update was my final one, but I just wanted to check in one last time. After months of dealing with toxic comments, I stopped coming here. But here's where things stand. The divorce is finalized. I'm still living with my parents, and I finally got a job. I hate it. It's low paying, and my dad had to help me get it. But it's something. The divorce itself was pretty straightforward. The house was always Jack's, even before we got married. So I walked away with nothing. Since I was a stay-at-home wife, I got a bit of alimony, but it wasn't much. We didn't have kids, so at least there was no custody battle. I tried talking to Jack again, but he's really done with me. The worst part? He actually seems happier without me. That stings more than I can even put into words. I know I messed up. I'll never forgive myself for what I did. I won't be staying on Reddit any longer. It's just too toxic. But I felt like I owed you all one last update. To the people who spent their time sending me hate, please get a life. Thanks and goodbye. Or so I thought. Turns out, I have one more update after all. I recently found out something absolutely wild. All of my single friends, the same ones who used to mock Jack with me, are now trying to get with him. I ran into an old acquaintance from a neighborhood who filled me in on all the gossip. Apparently, they're throwing themselves at him, but he doesn't seem interested. It's ironic, really. The very people who contributed to the downfall of my marriage are now scrambling for his attention. It's a bitter pill to swallow, but it's also a lesson learned. That old acquaintance was surprisingly kind. She didn't judge me for my past, and even offered to help me if I ever needed anything. It was a reminder that there are still decent people out there. I'm still stuck at my terrible job, but at least it's a step toward independence. I've been saving up, hoping to move out of my parents' house soon. It's tough, but I'm determined to make it happen. Jack and I don't talk anymore. I've tried reaching out a few more times, but he's completely done with me. Seeing him happy without me is a painful reminder of how badly I messed up. I've started therapy, which has been helping me process everything and understand why I made the choices I did. It's a long road, but I'm committed to real change. Anyway, this truly is my last update. I'm trying to stay positive and focus on the future, one day at a time. To those who gave me real advice and support, thank you. Your kindness meant more than you know. To those who still insist on sending me hate, please move on. We all make mistakes. I'm doing my best to learn from mine. Life is too short to hold on to so much negativity. Thank you and take care.